all set now. Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you for coming. Today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. It's about APIs. Now, for some of you that have a kind of a technical background, that might sound familiar, but if you don't have any technical background, that's okay. This workshop is meant for coders and no coders, right? So we'll have a lot of examples, a lot of visual things, a lot of graphic yeah, slides. So all of that will help us to understand. So it doesn't matter that you have a wide range of coding experience or you're just seeing if you like this area of knowledge, then that's fine. All right. It's always good to go to the basics, right? So let me introduce myself. My name is Camilo Villegas. I'm a software engineer. I've been coding since I'm a little kid, but professionally, I've been doing it for more than 4 years. And past year, like at the end, one of the promises that I made myself for this new year was to teach people, was to become a teacher or whatnot. And then I discovered 4Geeks and I enrolled, and I'm very excited and super glad that the 4Geeks gave me the opportunity to teach to Miami cohort 52. They are about to finish this week on Friday. It's the day of their final presentations, and everything went super good and super excited to see what they achieved. So I made a promise. I'm basically fulfilling that promise, and I love teaching. So I'm super happy to be here, and the 4Geeks give me these opportunities to also complement my teacher position with someone that also does workshop. So that's me. If you want to connect, if you want to say hi or whatever you want, then I can share with you guys my wait, hold on. Yeah, my LinkedIn. We are going to use Google Slides here for the presentation. I'm going to share with you the link right now. You don't have to open it. Like what you can do with this link is that you save it for later, because what I want you guys to do is to focus on the presentation, because today's project is really simple. All right. Again, even if you are a coder or a no coder, you'll see that the project itself, it's guided. It has steps. All right. For some of you that are in 4Geeks, this project has LearnPack, but so that's why I say it's kind of simple to go through. But if you don't know what LearnPack is, basically it's like you got a virtual teacher telling you what to do. All right. So the main focus for this workshop is that you guys understand what is an API, what is the purpose of an API, and why do we use it. All right. Because I know that many people, when you say API or backend, they start shivering like, no, 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 I don't want to know anything about that. That database, that's so difficult. All right. But that's all of that are just myths that we're going to debunk today. All right. So I'm going to share with you my presentation right here. It's in the chat of Google. Sorry. Yeah. Google Meet. It's in the chat right there. There you can see a link to my LinkedIn profile. Again, if you want to connect, if you want to just say hi or or anything, then you can just go to my profile and connect with me. All right, I think that's it. No more introduction. Let's get to business. So in second slide, we got considerations before we start. So there is a lot to cover. So we'll go a little bit fast, right? Not super fast, but I will try to like the basic information, try to get it done quickly, and then go into the more complex part in more time, so we can have more time to discuss and we can have more time to understand what's going on. So if you don't really get it, there's no problem. This is going to be recorded, so you can rewatch it if you want, or you can go through the slides. And yeah, so don't get frustrated if you're confused. This workshop, it's all recorded. All right. Now, mute your mic, please, guys. If you're not speaking, please make sure your mic is muted. If you want to speak, please raise your hand first. Now, we see this little icon, this little hand icon in the Google Meets. If you want to say something, just click there, and I will receive a notification. I will see your hand wiggling there, and I will give you some time to speak up. Now, use the chat wisely. That means no spam, no links, no hate. Basic stuff, sign colored our underlined text. It's a clickable link, as you can see here. And be nice, make questions, have fun. All right, so let's see the agenda for today. We're going to start with a section of what is, right? What is what? What is GitHub? What is Python? What is Flask? What is pipm? All right, so all of those technical words, we're going to see a brief overview on what they are, and then we're going to see how we can work with them. All right, so you can see that this first step is divided into 4 small intros, no longer than 1 slide, so easy stuff. Then I'm going to give a very visual, very common example of what an API is, like translated into the real world, so you can get the hint of what an API is and what is the purpose of it. All right. Now, after that, after we are all good with these terms, after we are all good with what's an API and what's the use of it, then we're going to set up our code spaces and Thunder clients. All right. So don't get scared. This is just some software that we use to actually make the project. All right. When we're making the project, we will touch more complex things such as HTTP methods. This is something that looks scary, but it's actually super easy. I'll explain it to you guys, so no worries. And then the most important part, in fact, I will put this in bold, is how the front end and the back end communicate. So one of the main reasons why people are kind of scared or don't understand fully backend is because the backend is not super visual, right? So when you do a change in the front end, that means when you do change in HTML or React or whatever, you can see immediate results in the screen, right? But for backend, it's not the same. So a lot of people start like, oh, I don't understand this because you don't see the immediate change. But that's why we're going to use this stuff, Thunder Client. And this will provide us everything we need, the visibility the backend lacks. And after we understand these, how front end and backend is communicated, and in this step, we're going to develop in parallel the project. Once that's done, we'll just go to some recap and final words. All right, sounds good, people? Any questions? All right, let me drink some water, filling the tank, and let's get into it. So what's GitHub? Okay, so GitHub, let's read this. GitHub is a platform for hosting code, and it's manipulated with Git, all right? A series of commands to upload, update, and delete the hosted code, all right? Now, the main idea that I want you guys to understand here is that GitHub is like Google Drive for programming projects, all right? GitHub is just a place where you upload your files and where people can see it, can share it, can edit it, can delete it if they want. That's GitHub, all right? We don't use Google Drive in the world of technology because it's for other purposes. GitHub is perfect for code, all right? Now, GitHub is just a platform. The actual technology that provides all of that actions of uploading, editing, deleting is Git, all right? So this workshop is not about Git, but if you are curious about what's Git and how it works, you just click on the link and you will get redirected right here. You can read what are the commands, blah, blah, blah. Today, we're not going to do any Git. It's just, I'm giving you this information for your knowledge. Now, for this project, we must have a GitHub account. Now, this is important. You can create one here, all right? So if you have a GitHub account, that's awesome. If you don't have one, I will suggest you just follow the workshop, right? Then you can create the account and then you can rewatch the workshop if you want. Here is the link, so you guys can create a GitHub. Mine looks different because I'm already logged in, but you'll get prompt to the sign up page. All right, so once your GitHub account is created or you already have one, open the project. Let's build a to-do list API with Python and Flask. All right, so let's open this one right here on the right. Oh, I already had one. All right, no problem. So 4Geeks, it's not only a coding academy, right? It's not only you pay and I will give you classes. It's also a place with public and shared knowledge. So you can actually read about this project right here, right? It's open for the public. Like you don't have to be enrolled in order to develop this project. So that's super cool because 4Geeks is also engaged into teaching people without even enrolling into their academy. So that's super sweet, I will say. So here's just like an overview of the project. Here you can read how to start the project, what are we going to build. Here you can see some examples, blah, blah, blah. As you can see, it's super short, super simple. What is important about this page is this link right here, repository. All right. Why is this important? Because when I click it, it will get me to GitHub. All right. And this is the actual boilerplate, or no more technical words, the starting place of the project. All right. So let's go back here. Now we know what is GitHub, right? It's like that Google Drive for programmers. If we take a look here, we see folders, we see files. It's like Google, yeah, Google Drive, but a little bit more technical. So that's it for GitHub. Now let's talk about Python, guys, right? So what's Python? Python is a high-level interpreted programming language, right? Now, I reduced I reduced the definition of Python for you guys because Python is, I mean, if you search it on Google, it's super long. It's like high level, syntax clear, dynamic, programming language, multi-threaded, right? So the important stuff is that it's high level and it's interpreted. All right. So what this means high level is that when a programming language is high level, that means that it's more close to the human language, right? That you can see words like while or if or for, right? So those are words of the English language. So that help us to code in a more human way, right? Python is a high level language. You will see that it's really easy to read and to understand. Now, what's an interpreted programming language? What that means basically is that Python doesn't have to be compiled, right? So what it means is that sometimes while you're programming, you need to compile your code. That means that you gotta make it readable for the computer, right? So Python doesn't need that, doesn't need to be compiled. It just works immediately, right? So that's that for Python. So its main features are syntax clarity. As I said, it's really easy to follow Python code. Dynamic typing, this is a little bit more technical. This means that you don't have to define the actual type of a variable in Python. That means that you don't have to be so strict. Like if you want to call something like bubble gum, you can call it as that, and then you can put any value to it, right? You don't have to be so strict. So it's dynamic that way, and it's and extensibility. Now I will say this is the most important part of Python, the extensibility. Why? So Python is everywhere. If you check here, Python works for web development, desktop applications, software development, education, database access, network programming, game development, 3D graphics. The usage of Python is so wide, and it's thanks to the extensibility. This means that there are a lot of libraries that work with Python. That means like a lot of plugins that work with Python in all the areas. So that's pretty sweet, I will say. Now, to write Python, you must create a .py file, right? And then it will read Python. But don't worry about this. We'll see it later. Now, if you're not convinced about Python, check this. Now, Stack Overflow, if you know what Stack Overflow, perfect. If you don't know what Stack Overflow is the place where all the programmers ask questions, right? So it's like the source of truth for many things. So Stack Overflow is one of the most important websites for programming world, right? And I'm showing you this because Stack Overflow runs a survey every single year. And the survey is super wide. They ask what where are you located, to what are the favorite technologies, what are the most paying technologies too, and a lot of sweet stuff, right? So here, what I want you to show you guys is that in technology, it says most popular technologies here on the right. Python, look, it's in fourth place. Professional developers, Python, fourth place. Learning to code, Python, third place. And it's almost the same percentage as JavaScript, right? So This is just a graph of one of the most important websites in the programming world telling you learn Python. That's it, right? I just wanted to show you this, guys, so you guys make that extra effort of learning Python. All right, so that's it for Python. Now let's talk about Flask, right? Now, the workshop is called Let's Build a To-Do List API with Python Flask. Now, what's Flask, right? Now, Flask, let's read this. It's a lightweight WSGI, right? Some fancy word for basically, this is a library that helps you to build an API. That's it. It's lightweight, very lightweight. And let me show you why. This is the lines that you need in order to create a basic API with Flask. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got a working API. That's everything you need with Flask, right? So that's awesome, guys. Now, of course, there are some disadvantages, like Flask is whatever you put in it, right? If you don't put a lot of effort into Flask, then your API will be weak. But the good part is that if you're learning how to create an API, Flask is your way to go. It's lightweight, it's fast, it's simple, right? So here you can see more of an explanation. Now, this is not an exaggeration. Like if I put this into a Python file and I run it, I will get this. I will immediately get things in my screen that are fetching from an API, right? So yeah, good time for questions, I will say. Do you guys have any questions so far? Okay.
Yes, I do have a question.
Yeah.
What will be the difference between Flask and Fast API?
There are different libraries. I believe Fast API is a framework, but I'm not sure. Let me search for it. Fast API is a modern fast web framework. Yes. So basically, it's like different solutions for the same thing, right? So Flask. Let's open Flask. So Flask is a library for API creation, right? Here you can see some of its description. Fast API is a little bit more than a library. It's a framework. Now, there are a lot of fighting inside the programming world when you speak about frameworks, because a lot of people say, no, that's not a framework, because if you read this, it says it's not a framework. But then people say, no, of course it is a framework, because I once heard about this guru of technology. It's crazy, right? But I say that Fast API is a framework. The difference between a library and a framework is that the framework has a defined way to do things, right? And if you don't follow that structure, it's not going to work. Flask is open, super open. You can do whatever you want with Flask. But with Fast API, if you don't follow their structure, it's not going to work. So the difference is like you need to hold your money somewhere. You got a lot of banks. I think in the States you got Brex, Chase, Wells Fargo, blah blah blah. But they are entities for the same stuff, right? So let's translate that into the programming world. So I want to store my money somewhere in a bank, right? Now, Flask is like Wells Fargo. Fast API is like, I don't know, Bank of America, right? It's there are different solutions for the same thing. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions before we go on? Okay. Oh, for your information, I'm Colombian, and the creator of or Fast API is a Colombian too. So, woohoo!
Mm,
Yeah. Props to
Me too.
Colombia.
Yeah, me too. I'm Colombian as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Yes, let's go, Colombia. All right, let's keep going. All right, so we got GitHub. That's where we're going. This is where we're going to store our code. We got Python. This is the programming language we're going to use today. Flask. It's like a library. This is a plugin for that will make our lives easier. And what's pipemp? So this is the most technical part. I'll not go deep on this one. I'll just let you know that because Flask is a library, it has to be stored somewhere in our project, right? Now, pipemp is a solution that we use to install libraries. So pipm will take care of installing Flask for us and putting it in the right position. So Python can read it and the project can work seamlessly, right? This is the only thing that you gotta understand here. Now, I got a graph here. It's not super easy to read, but what it's saying basically is that we got two projects, project A and project B. Now, project A and project B has different libraries. So pipamp is smart enough to know what are the libraries required in project A and what are the libraries required in project B in order to work, right? So that's it. Pipamp, it's a management tool. Oh, it's a management tool, right? It creates a new environment which stores the libraries that each project needs. I think this is a beautiful explanation what pipamp is. Pipamp is like your helpful kitchen organizer for Python projects. That's it. We're just going to use pipamp like 1-2 times in the project and that's it, right? Because it's more of a management thing. So that's it. Let's move on to a very interesting part of the presentation. What is an API and how does it work? Now, I know that it's a lot of uh, theoric stuff that I'm throwing at you, but after the API explanation, we'll get to the code. All right. So this is a real world explanation on what is an API. So for all coders or no coders here, I want you guys to close your eyes and think the last time you went to a restaurant, or just imagine yourself in a good restaurant, right? Now, a restaurant is a perfect setting for for the communication that front end and back end has, right? Why? Because front end and back end work together because of one thing, the API. Now, in a restaurant, a customer is able to request for food for a meal thanks to a waiter. Like, I don't know if you go to a restaurant and you go straight to the kitchen and you tell the chef, hey, I want to eat this. And then you go back to your seat and sit down. Like, I don't think what restaurant, I mean, I don't think so. Most of restaurants have a waiter, right? And the reason for that waiter is because we need organization in our requests. So the waiter work is to go to the customer, get the request, then go to the chef and tell them, hey, on table 5, they want, I don't know, Alfredo pasta. Then the chef will get to work. They will do the Alfredo pasta. Once the Alfredo pasta is done, then the waiter will get the pasta and they will give it to the customer. That's an API. An API is a waiter, my friends. The only thing is the API concerned is to get a request from a customer, that means the front end, and send it to the chef, that means the backend. And as backend developers, our mission is to create the perfect waiter, is to create the perfect menu. So customers can get into a restaurant and ask whatever they want. And we have perfect customer service. That's the whole reason of an API. Now, I want to ask you guys, is this example clear? You can also throw me some emojis if you want, like this. Woo! Yes, Jamil. Go ahead, Jamil. Okay, perfect. So that's our API, and this is what we're going to build today. We're going to build basically a waiter. That's it. All right. So now, next slide. Oh, next slide, my favorite one. Let's get to work. Enough talking. Let's code. All right. So let's click here. We'll get straight to GitHub. You will see that I'm already logged in my account. Now here we see a lot of files. Don't be scared by this. Don't be intimidated. These are just files that will help us to develop the project. Here you can see a small README. This is just like some further instructions on how to develop and what are the expectations for you in this project. But we won't read those. We are just going to create a code space, right? So what's a code space? Let's go to the slides. Let's go down a little bit and let's click here. So set up a GitHub code spaces. So probably some of you are wondering, how are we going to code the project, right? The good thing is that GitHub and 4Geeks thought about this. And their solution is that let's code the project in the cloud. And when I say in the cloud, is let's do it in our browser. So guys, you don't have to install anything, right? So, because this workshop can go very wrong if I tell you, okay, open this link, download, install, and then someone will say, oh no, it doesn't work in my computer. And then we'll lose time, people will get bored. So we use GitHub code spaces, basically installation like this in the cloud at the browser. So first, you need your GitHub account. Once you have that, then you go to the repository, the place where I'm here, you click on code, and then you click here, create code space on master, all right? This is gonna trigger a new tab, and this new tab will basically load, and it will set up everything for us. We don't have to, we don't have to do anything else. Just let's wait, right? Let's wait until it's done. All right, so while this is loading, let's go back to the slides, and let's scroll down a little bit, and let's read this, all right? So this is something that is very important. Thunder Client. Now, what is Thunder Client? Thunder Client is a plugin. It's a plugin from VS Code. All right, so what's VS Code? It's what we're opening here. It's our software that we use in order to code, right? So we need this plugin. Why? Well, we don't really need it, but I will say it's super important. And the reason for it is that Thunder Client will help us to have a more visible backend, a more visible API. Remember when I said that the main reason of people fearing and dreading backend is that they don't really see what's going on inside of it, right? With Thunder Client, you are basically removing that because you're having a tool in order to see what's happening in the API, right? So we need this. We're going to install it. So let's do that right away. So you can see right here that it's still loading some things. It gave me this right screen right here. We will see in a couple minutes what's this deal here on the right. But let's just follow the instructions that this slide is giving us. So it says that we got to click on this small icon, search for Thunder, and then install it. So that's what we're going to do right now. So let's go here. Let's click on these plugins, extensions. Let's search for Thunder. Let's wait for it a couple seconds. Okay, here. The first, these like purple icon thing with the Thunder on it, that's Thunder Client. So let's install it. That's it. So super fast installation, and we will have it right here on the left. So right now, we're not going to use it now, but we will use it in a couple of, well, in a while. You will see. You will see how do we use Thunder. But so far, so good. I think we got everything we need in order to start coding. So here we can see these learning instructions. So this is a disclaimer, guys. Sometimes when you open your code spaces, this is not going to show up for you. And that's normal. It's because GitHub is a cloud service, and sometimes it gets laggy, and sometimes it doesn't show you what you really need. But that's okay. What you're going to do if that happens to you is that you're just going to write learn pack start. This is everything you got to do if that happens to you, right? If learn pack is not running automatically or crashes, let's just do learn pack start in the terminal. I will give you I will give you an example here. Sometimes your code spaces can open like this, blank, without anything running, right? So what you can do is that you can get here, down here, and then you can write learn pack start. Press enter. It will do some magic. And once this is done, look, we got our instructions back, all right? So don't get confused, super simple. Go to the terminal, LearnPack start, and that's it. So what's LearnPack? As I said, LearnPack is like having a teacher, like a virtual teacher. Because here on the right, we will see all the explanations and the step-by-step that we need in order to finish this workshop. All right, so let's do it. Let's read. Welcome to Flask. In this tutorial, we're going to build a REST API that exposes 3 endpoints to the internet. All right, I got a really sweet explanation, a really sweet graphic explanation what is an endpoint, but we will see that in a couple of minutes. So we're going to build this, get to-dos, that it will return an array with dictionaries, with objects, like this, in JSON format. Post to-dos, that will basically have a request, a payload that will be sent to the API, then will be get added, as we can see here. We had 2 items, now we got 3, because we just added 1 here. And then lastly, the delete. And you guessed it, deletes. The delete endpoint works if we want to remove a specific one. Where we'll be able to find this recording? Janet, do you know?
Yes, will be available on YouTube tonight or tomorrow.
No
No,
problem,
no,
Rob.
don't worry, bro. You're welcome.
Okay. So guys, I want your full attention right here. I know that some things are kind of intimidating, but don't worry. We will start to see how everything connects in a couple minutes. So once we're done reading this, we can click on this check right here. It's called test. When we click here, oh, sorry. I think it's requesting me to do something. Oh, yeah, we don't really need to test anything here. I think we just need to click on next. Perfect. All right, so let's read this. Hello world with Flask. During this tutorial, we'll be building a REST API using Python programming language and the Flask library. We're going to the right way, following all the good practices. We have to install and learn some things first. So requirements, Python 3 plus, don't worry about this. We already got that installed. This is more of a, when you download it in your local computer, you have to follow more steps. But because we're doing it in code spaces, this is already done for us. Pipamp, we already explained what's pipamp. So instructions, let's follow the instructions. And this is the cool part about LearnPack. It's giving us the step-by-step of everything. So it says here, open a new terminal. So here you can find the new terminal button here with this plus. It will open mine here. And then it says, make sure you have Python version 3 by running the following commands. All right, so let's get this here. Let's paste it. Let's press enter. It says that our Python indeed is 3.10, right? Perfect. Note, if you don't have Python 3, but we do, so we're not going to read that. And then we're going to make sure that pipamp is installed. So let's paste this and click here. Sorry, enter. And it will tell us that pipamp is in version 2023.4.20. So we got everything ready to start coding. We got Python on the correct version and pipamp on the correct version. So test your step and click next to continue. So there's no test icon here, so we just are going to go next. All right, so initialize pipamp. Let's read this. It is possible to have several Python projects. This is what I was telling you guys, remember? With different versions of Python. That's why you need to specify which Python version you want to use for every project during the setup. In this case, we don't care which version of Python we use as long as it is more than 3.0. In this case, it's 3.10, so that's cool. Every Python project should be wrapped in a virtual environment to ensure that each of them have their own Python version. This is what I said, that pipm makes sure that the libraries in the projects are in the correct place. That's everything that we really need here. Now, for the instructions, it says, run the following command to create a new virtual environment with Python 3 on it. So let's grab this, let's paste it here, and let's press enter. So for you geeks out there, for you coders out there, what it's doing right here is it's going to the .m file. and it's finding this variable here. And based on this, it is installing the correct Python version. But that's it. All right, so once all of this is done, we use pip install Python. Yeah, once all of this is done, then it says, and this is very important, you should see a pip file on the root of your project. Look at it right here, pip file. Let's click it. Look at this, right? That's perfect. So on the root project, and it should have the requires. It says that it requires the Python version 3.10, and we meet that requirement. And that's it. More metadata, a little more things that we don't really have to care about those. So let's click on next. We're done here. And let's follow this instruction right here. It says install Flask. So now that we have to, now we have to install our first package. That first package is Flask. So let's install it. Let's do it. So let me click here. Let's do pip emb install Flask. Let's press enter. Look, it says installing Flask, resolving Flask, boom, 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 it finished. Guys, do you see what happened here? It has been added to our pip file. So that means that if I give this project, if I send this project to Camila, then Camila just has to run the pip emb, and because the pip file has this Flask package right here, it's going to install it automatically. Now, if you already know a little bit about React, the pip file is our package.json. If you don't know what I'm talking about, think about IKEA, right? And this pip file is the manual, right? If you buy, I don't know, a sofa in IKEA, it will come with a manual. Because if you don't have the manual, you don't know how to build the sofa, right? So the pip file is our manual for this project, right? It doesn't matter what happens with the project. If we had the pip file, we know how to rebuild the project every single time. Right, so that's done. Let's see, I think we gotta test this one. As we see here, the icon, let's click it. Everything as expected. Oh, let's click it again. Everything as expected, perfect. So let's continue. Let's click on next. Now we got Flask installed, that's perfect. Now, Flask is an app that behaves like a web server. It exposes some URLs to the internet. Now, here we see some examples. So, mywebsite.com, it's our base URL, right? But what Flask is putting in the table is that Flask is adding this part right here, the endpoint. Remember, guys, endpoint. Now, the endpoint is what's coming after the slash. If I say users, then what I'm doing basically here is that I'm asking for the users in this web page right here, right? If that sounds confusing, there's no issue, guys. We'll get through the examples and you will get this clear. All right. So look at this. To create our first server, we need to add the following 2 lines to our Python file that we're going to create. Those 2 lines have to be in every single Flask project in order for it to work correctly. So let's follow the instructions. On the root of your project, create the source folder. So what's the root of our project? It's right here, right? It's where we are located right now. So just click here on the folder icon, and let's create a folder called src. So that's done. Here we can see our folder is empty. Then inside of it, create a file named app.py. So let's do that, app.py. I just created it and it's open. We see the little Python icon here because we got the extension of .py. That means that this file is going to run Python code. Now, as instructed above, add the code to create a new Flask app. So let's grab this, let's paste it, right? So let's read this together, guys. It's very simple. It says from Flask, import Flask, right? And then initialize Flask. So if this file is run, that means that this Flask is basically going to start Flask. That's everything that it's going to do. All right, so let's test it. Let's click here. Everything expected. Oh, I don't know why it's refreshing, but everything nice, perfect. So let's continue. Now we got Flask in this file. Now, running your new application. After creating our app, that is what we got here, we need to run and start the application. When the application runs, it will take over your command line, and you will not be able to type on it anymore. We will see that in action. Just look at this. At the following lines at the bottom of your file, remember these should be inside of your source folder, so that's cool. So let's grab this and let's put it as it says at the bottom of our file. So guys, I know this looks a little bit scary, but don't worry. What this is doing is basically running, right? It's running our Flask API in the following port, 3245. That's it. So let's read this. These two lines should always be at the very end of your file. This is what we do. Perfect. Now, to run your new server, open a new separate terminal and enter the following command. All right, so let's grab this. I won't create a new terminal. I'll just do it right here. And I will press enter. And you will see how it's telling me this. Serving Flask app on app. Warning, this is a development server. Do not use it on a production deployment. Look at this. Running on HTTP, and then some URL, and then our port 3245, as we can see here. Well, what happens if for some reason I change this to this 9898? Then if I run it again, it's just going to run in 9898. That's it. Simple. So let's go back here. Let's run it again. Perfect. Now, what is the cool thing about this is that if I open this link, right here, you will see an error, but that's cool, right? It says the requested URL was not found on the server. If you enter URL manually, please check your spelling and try again. Now, why is this a good thing? Because this means that the API is running, right? It's not that there is an error. It's just we don't have anything in it yet, right? Yet. But this is a good stuff. And this is even more interesting. You see that we got some logs here. It means that someone trying to access to our API. So if I refresh here several times, refresh, you will see that it will keep logging me more things. It's getting me the logs of whatever is happening in the application, right? So that's it for this step. So let's click on test. Everything is great. So let's click on next. Check for live URL. So this is what we did basically. Once you open it successfully, your live API should say not found like this. This is what we just saw. So nothing to test here. Let's move on. All right, this is interesting. Create your first endpoint, right? And this is where things will get very, very, very interesting. Because since Flask is a server, it only makes sense to add some URLs to expose over the internet. For example, my domain /hello, right? So let's do that. It says here, as a developer, if you would like people to visit this webpage right here and show the message hello world to those people, we have to add the following endpoint inside our app.py. So let's grab this, let's copy it, and let's paste it right here. Right, so what's happening here? What's happening here, guys? What's going on here is that in our Flask application, we're creating a new route, a new endpoint. What's the name of that endpoint? My route. All right. Now it is working with the get method, and we will be seeing what is this get. And what it's doing is that it's basically returning a hello world. This is everything going on. So if I go here, nothing will happen. But if I do /my route, because that's the name that we set this endpoint, my route, and I press enter, look at this. Hello world, right? So what's going on here? Because I'm asking the API for this endpoint, my route, that is the same one that we have here, my route, then it's going to give me hello world. If I change this to hello 4Geeks, right? and I look, it reruns automatically, and I refresh here, hello 4Geeks, right? Okay, guys. So let's see here. Here's a basic explanation of what I just said. Now the instructions, use the knowledge to make your server return the string hello. So let's copy this, and because we want my route to be returning that, so we're going to paste that there. When the URL to do's is typed on the browser, so it's no longer my route. They want us to call it to do's. So let's change it to to-dos, and that's it. Let's make sure that these two lines stay at the bottom of your app.py. We already did this, but this is the important stuff. So guys, with what you know, tell me, if I refresh this web page right here, what's going to happen? Anyone?
Get into an error, not found.
Why?
Because the route is my route and not to-dos.
Perfect. Give this man a, I don't know what you drink, whatever you like to drink. But yeah, that's excellent. It's going to run into an error. If I refresh here, not found, right? Why? Because we just changed the endpoints. So this should be called to-dos. Magic. No, no magic. Code. All right. So guys, now let's get into the theory for just a couple of minutes. We just did an HTTP request, right? So an HTTP request is basically a request for an API. There are something called HTTP methods. Now, those are like the actions. Those are the actions that we can do in our API. Now, this is very simple to understand. Now, if you ever listened, if you ever read or whatever, what is a CRUD? This is an anagram, no, acronym, right? This is an acronym for create, read, update, and delete. CRUD, right? And each of these actions that they are in the English language translates into an HTTP method. So if we want to create something in our API, we use post. If we want to read something of our API, we use get. If we want to update, we use put. If we want to delete, we use delete. I know you said it in your head. All right, so HTTP methods. That's it. Simple stuff, right? If we go back here, what method do we have? Get. Why? Because this endpoint, the only thing that is doing is that it's returning something. It's giving us something. Now let's close our eyes, right? And let's pretend that we're in that restaurant again, right? So basically, if we put here pasta and we change this to pasta, it's basically that in our menu, the customer is asking for pasta, right? Now the API here, the waiter is trained to know that when the customer says pasta, then what is going to, it's going to ask the chef, that means the database, for some pasta, and then it's going to return what? Pasta. That's it. Pasta. So of course we're going to get an error here, but now if we do pasta, we get pasta. Perfect. So let's change it to to-dos. I know, a little bit more boring, but this is what it's required. So yeah, we will see more HTTP methods down the road. We just checked get, right? The most simple and straightforward HTTP method. We're gonna go further with other ones. So we're done here. Let's click next. Demo your API. All right, so we already done this. We just open the new tab and we put to-dos, and that's it. So no need to test here. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. Very interesting, I would say. Returning JSON. JSON, not a person. No, JSON is just an acronym. I don't really remember what's the acronym of JSON. Let's search for it. JSON is JavaScript Object Notation. Yeah, JS object notation. That's it. All right. So what is JSON? Now, guys, have you heard somewhere that English is the universal language, blah, 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 or whatever they tried to do in the past with Esperanto, right? So that's our JSON. JSON is the universal language for front end and back end. So this is very cool because you might not see the benefit right now, but this is cool because if we got a front end that is done on Svelte, but the back end is done on Elixir, it doesn't matter. As long as front end requests everything on JSON, and as long as backend responds everything on JSON. Let's go back again to the restaurant example. Let's say, let's put myself, the teacher in this example. Me, I'm Colombian. I speak Spanish. That's my native language. But I go to a Vietnamese restaurant. I got no idea of Vietnamese language, right? So I in which language I will ask the waiter for something? In English. I will say, "Hey sir, I want, I don't know, fried noodles, whatever." And then the API can let's pretend that the waiter is not Vietnamese. It's, I don't know, Portuguese, right? So they don't know what the kitchen is doing, right? So I ask in English, the waiter, the API goes to the kitchen, asks in English, but it doesn't matter because the message is communicated. So it doesn't matter where we come from, what language do we speak. If it's in JSON, no. If it's in English, it's going to work. In this case, it doesn't matter if front end is done in whatever or back end is done in whatever. If they communicate in JSON, then that's it. And then you might say, what's JSON? What is JSON, Camilo? JSON is super simple. JSON is a very simple structure of key value, key value, key value. Have that in your mind. So let me see if I can find a super simple example here. JSON. Yeah, let's see this one. Look at this. So JSON is basically key brackets, as we can see here. And inside, we got the following structure: key for the name of what we want to ask, and then value. So this is very straightforward. Is the business open? True. That means it is open. What is the city of the business? It's Homestead. What's the name? It's McDonald's. Do you get it, guys? Simple, right? Very, very simple. So let's remove this and let's go back here. So REST API, I have to return data in JSON format, not HTML format. So this is incorrect. The only reason this is working is because Chrome knows how to handle JavaScript, right? But if we're using a different, I don't know, browser with a different engine, or if we are responding something that doesn't make sense for the front end, it's not going to work. So that's why we're gonna put it in English in JSON, right? So let's grab all of this. You can use the Flask JSONify function to easily convert any of the basic data types to JSON data like this. So this is very straightforward. Let's just grab this. Let's put it here. It says some data. Let's grab this. Let's put it here. All right. Now this is a dictionary. This is a Python dictionary. Right? Don't get confused. Because it looks like JSON, it doesn't mean that it's JSON. This is a Python dictionary. So what's the name? Bobby. What's the last name? Rexer. Simple, right? Now here, we can do JSON text here. So, let's grab the comment too. So let's put this here. And it says you can convert that variable into JSON string like this. So grab some data, put it here. So now some data, this stuff right here is going to be converted. It's going to be translated into JSON. And once that's done, then we can return it like this. Now we're making sure that our backend always is returning something that is in JSON, right? Now, if we apply this knowledge to our to-do list project, we can create a global name variable called to-dos. So let's grab this. let's put this here, right? So we got an array that has two to-dos, one called my first task and the other one called my second task, right? None of them are done. That's okay. So create a global variable, blah, blah, blah. Do not declare the variable inside any function. To-dos is outside hello world, so that's fine. Declare the variable in the global scope and make sure the variable contains at least one task. That's fine. All right, following this structure, label, done. Label, done. So we're good, right? Change the function on the get method endpoint from string to output to so that it will return the JSON-ified version of the global variable of to-dos. So what we have to do here, we grab this, we paste it here. That means that this array is going to be translated into JSON. It's going to get stored here, and then it's going to be returned, right? Let's click here, and everything ran as expected. All right. So this is where Thunder comes into play. Because if we grab this here, and when we click new request, it's going to open a new tab here. Let's put it here. And then look, first, we see a lot of HTTP methods. We just explained the most basic ones. So guys, I want your collaboration here. What is the method that we're searching for? If we want to request this endpoint here, what's the method? Get. Perfect. So we have get here. Second, what is the URL, right? What is the URL that we need? So we need this one. So let's grab all of this. Let's grab all of this. Let's put it back here. Boom. And what's the endpoint? It is to-dos, right? So when I click on send, it's not going to work as it usually does. No. I'm just kidding. It's not going to work because I think this is not. Hold on. Yeah, it's not going to work. Is Thunder similar to Postman? Yes. I like to use Thunder because you don't need to authenticate. You can have the Postman extension in VS Code, but you will have to authenticate. Insomnia also works. Yes. Okay. So it's not working because the API crashed. There is an error. So we got to run it again. Now it's working. So let's click here. Not found. Oh no, what's happening, guys? Oh yeah, I don't think we have to use this one, this URL. I think we have to use this one. Why was I thinking? So let's grab this. Let's put it here, right? So for this URL, I'm asking for the to-dos, right? So here, I'm asking for this, basically. So let's click here. Ah, this one worked. Look at this, guys. Now we can see some improvement. Now, if I add a new task here, let's say this one is going to be label finish workshop, and it's not done yet. But then when I request it, when I click on send, look, it's going to give me all of that finish workshop, right? How you guys feeling? Good.
Great.
Perfect. All right, guys. So I know that might be a little bit confusing, but I prepare. Is the Coding Geeks Academy through Google Meet? Yes. Well, but are you asking for the classes? If you're asking for the classes, yes, it's done on Google Meet. Okay, so let's continue with this one. So I prepared this example for you guys. I know it's not super pretty. I'm not a designer, my bad. But I hope that you guys follow this example. So what is going on here? All right, what's going on here is that we got a city that is basically asking for some supplies to a harbor. That's everything that is happening here, right? So the city is our front-end client, is our website, and the harbor is the backend server. All right. So this city, they need their supplies by sending a request. Now, a request is a boat. Now, the city the city sends a boat with a mission. Go to the harbor and get some information out of the warehouse. So think of endpoints as shores, as ports. All right. So a harbor has different ports. Let's think of a real life harbor, of a seafood harbor. Let's say you got a port where you unload the food. You got a port where you load the food. You got a port for, I don't know, payments, whatever. Right. And boats know to which port to go if they want to do whatever they need to do. Right. So in this case, let's pretend that the city is asking for to-dos, right? So that's the front end. The front end is sending that boat, is sending that request to the get to-dos port. That's our endpoint. So the boat will go there. That means the request will go there, right? Will enter the backend, the harbor that is containing this dotted line. And then this boat, basically the captain of the boat, will talk with a worker, and it will say, "Hey, I was sent by the city. They're asking for the to-dos, so I believe this is the port to get the to-dos. So please help us." And then the worker, that is the API, will go to the database, right? And what's stored in the database? It's this thing right here. It's the to-dos, right? So basically, the worker will go to the database, will get this information right here, and will go back to the boat. We'll go back to the boat with the information requested, and it will tell the captain, "Hey, captain, I got your information. It is right here." The captain will say, "Well done, worker. Thank you for your job." We'll get the information, and then we'll go back to the city with the information right here. Is that understood, guys? The little boat example. Yes? Perfect. All right, that's sweet. Let me just go back here. All right, so that's it. So simple. Front end sends a request that is like a boat, goes to the harbor, goes to the specified port that is our endpoint called to-dos. Then the API knows what to do in this case. It will get the request from the captain. It will go to the warehouse. We'll get whatever they need, whatever the boat needs, and then we'll go back and give it to them. And the boat, once it's loaded with the to-dos in this example, it will go back to the city with the information. Easy peasy. Now let's go back here, and this is exactly what we're doing right here. You see that I send a request, the boat goes to the backend, gets information, and now it's presented to me right here. All right, so let's test it. Everything on place. Let's continue. Check the API. That's exactly what we did. So let's move on. Oh, click here. Perfect. Let's click on next. Post. Now, this is a more interesting one. A post. Now, we just saw the example of getting information out of the harbor. Now, let's see what happens when I, as a front end, as the city, I want to send something to the harbor and I want them to store that something. That's the post, right? So if we go back here and we see the methods, post is for creation, all right? So let's go back here and let's read it. In order to build the post to-dos endpoint, we have to do something similar to what we did in the first get endpoint. Remember, each endpoint in Flask is presented by a function. So if we go back here, in fact, let's not call it hello world, let's call it get to-dos for this one. But for the post, we got to create a new one, right? So it's the same port to-dos, but it will have a different method. So they will behave in a different way. You will see it right here. Now, they're also asking us to import request, and we will see why. We will see why in a couple minutes. So that's it. So remember to import requests, exactly what we did, then add the following endpoint. We got to-dos, that's our endpoint. The methods is post, that's what we got here. The function should be called add new to-do, so let's do that. And then we're gonna have this stuff right here. So let's paste it here. Now, here we have a small error. It's not actually request.data, it is request.json. That's something that I will have to report, but yeah. So once we're done with this, oh, the API crashed, so I'm gonna run it again. So once we are done with this, and we go to Thunder, oh, sorry. We go to Thunder, let's create a new request. So let's click here. So we got this one. Oh, what happened? Okay, this one. Let's put post. Let's grab the URL right here. Let's do to-dos. And because this one is different, we want to send a JSON content. Now, this is the request that we're going to send. All right. So if I want them to create a new to-do called label, let's call it drink coffee. That's a to-do. It's very important to drink coffee, guys. And done. It is true. Oh, true, like this. Then our endpoint, our to-dos endpoint, when we are calling with the post method, what it will do is that it will get the request stored here in this variable. It will print it. That means that it will be shown here in the terminal, and it will respond with a response for the post to do. That's it. So let's test it out. If I click here, I get my response here. It says response for the post to do. Exactly what we got here. But most importantly, look at what the API is logging. Incoming request with the following body, label, drink coffee, done, true. So this is not doing much because we're just logging something, but we're gonna make more things with this one. So they're just asking us to do this. So let's check this one really quick. That's done. And let's get to the fun stuff. That is, this is what you should have so far. So that's what we have so far. That's cool. Use Postman or Insomnia or Thunder for faster results. And then, okay. But I think we don't have to do anything here. Oh, wait. Postman, request body. What are the instructions here? Use Postman, Insomnia, or API request builder that you may like. Well, that's cool. Oh, wait. Okay. I think we gotta hit this again. And let's do it here. Oh, what is going on? We got an error. Let's see what's going on here. We don't really have to use this one. Okay. I think we gotta use these requests exactly as it says. So let's go back here. They don't like coffee. Too bad. So let's put it here. Let's click on send. Nice. You see that we got it logged right here. Let's click here. Not working. Oh, what's
Did you?
going on?
Sorry, Camilo. Did you
Yeah, go ahead.
import a? Did you import a request?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is right here. Oh, let's see what's going on. Let's read. Take some time to analyze each line. Request. That's good. Let's copy and paste it. Maybe it's something that we are not seeing. Okay, nice. Oh, what's going on? Oh, look at this. The server was, the API was not running. Sometimes when you make a mistake, the API crashes. The API crashes and that's it. Let's see what, okay. There's something definitely wrong with this one, but I'm trying to see what's going on. I think this is a bug. Okay, let's see if this allow us to bypass it, because we got everything in place, guys. Trust me. I tested this before giving you the. Oh no, it's not letting us. All right, let's read what they want here. The endpoint post to dos should exist. It exists, right? To dos. This is good, guys. That we face these issues live. Where okay, your code must be compliant. Ah, but look at this. It's not letting us test it anymore. So this is nice. This is good. But this one is not expected. The endpoint post to dos. Okay, guys, if you see something that I'm not seeing, yes, I think I'll have to restart learn pack. I think it's behaving weird. Okay. No. Oh, don't worry, guys. We'll get this fixed. Sometimes learn pack gets crazy. Oh,
Already there is a to do which is existing, right? So how it will differentiate between a get and post?
what do you
Do we,
mean here?
do we need to change that name to do's name there in the raw the URL part?
Jump, Camilo.
I don't think so. Why with data? It's weird, guys, but it worked. It worked. Okay. I take it. I take it.
It
It's
works
weird.
for me actually, and I imported the Flask request in a different line,
Hmm.
just under the first line. I don't know, maybe
But you were
maybe it
using JSON or .data?
um
Ah,
that
seems
data.
that both work. Okay, no, seems that both work. Like, seems that with JSON, look at this, guys. I send it and it's working fine,
Mm.
right? But this guy doesn't like it if I do it that way. If I do it data, then it likes it. All
Yeah, but
right.
I mean the Flask from Flask import request. You yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Maybe
but it
maybe it
doesn't
did.
matter.
Okay.
It's
I think it could be the test, the way
okay.
that the tests are.
Yeah, totally. That's the reason, but that's okay. Okay. So here, very important stuff here, and it's that. Look at this, guys. I think I understand what happened. So here we had to use data because they just want us to print what's being sent from the front end. But then here it, as you can see, it says JSON, right? Why? Because we should add things in our database. Here we don't have a database. We're just using a local variable called to-dos. But if we want to add something to that variable, it has to be in JSON, right? So they were like little steps. First one, data, don't worry about JSON, but this one, worry about JSON. So that was the reason why it was not working. So my bad, guys. Okay, so let's continue. So it says here, finish the post. Your code should look like this by now. It looks like that. So that's cool. Now, if you want to finish our post method, we have to perform the following specific actions. First, make sure that you're converting the request body into real Python data structure, like a dictionary. That's exactly what we're doing. You can see that we already use request.json for that, since we know the request will be an application.json. However, in fact, if it's not known, then we can do this. But because we are good and we are sending things on JSON, then I think that's fine. Okay. Second, add a dictionary into the list of to-dos, and last, return the new list of to-dos. All right, instructions. So what they want us to do is that we are creating this endpoint for a very specific reason. We're creating this endpoint because we want to add something in our database, right? And that something is whatever front end sends. In this case, this little request right here. So what we can do here is that first we intercept the request, we make it JSON, and then we get the to-dos. That's like our database. And then we're going to use a function from Python called append. Now, what append is going to do is that it's going to add the new to do to the list. That's everything. So request body, that's it. And then let's do this JSON to do list. Remember that we have to always respond in a JSON way. So I will grab this and I will grab to dos. And last but not least, I will just respond with the list, with the to-do list, but with the new item that we just created. So we know that when I do a get, let me move this. When I do a get, we can see, it crashed. It's running again, no worries. Okay, so when we do a get, it will give me these 3 items, right? 1, 2, 3. The same items that we got here. Perfect. Now, what happens if we create a new one with the post, right? Let's click here. Boom. We got 1, 2, 3 items plus the one that we just added. Now it is in our database. Now let's do sample to do 25. Let's do it. Look. 1, 25. Let's do another thing, like walk the dog. Let's click it. Boom. It is right here. Huh? And if I go back to get and I try to get this, look at this, guys. Everything is stored. You see? So going back to our boat example, this is what's happening. So the city is now telling us, hey, send a to-do. We want that the warehouse holds a new to-do that we're sending from the city. So the boat now has something that is called a payload, right? What's the payload about? It's this thing right here. So the boat will get all of this. It will go to this port right here. It will go to this port, the post one, and it will get with this item right here, right? And it will, and then the captain of the boat will tell the worker, hey, we are in this port because we know that this port accepts new to-dos. So Mr. Worker, please grab our request for a new to-do and please store it in the warehouse. So the worker will get that information from the boat, from the request, and will enter the warehouse and will store it right there. So this is very cool because next time that the city says like, okay, we want you both to go and fetch for all the to-dos, it will go here to the port of to-dos. The captain will tell the worker will go to the warehouse, and this time it will give us 2 to-dos, not just 1, right? Because the warehouse, the warehouse is now edited. Is this example clear, guys? Yes? Yeah, perfect. Okay, any questions? Okay, perfect. Seems as all good. All right, so I think that's done. Let's check it. Perfect. That gives us a nice green check. And let's move on to the next step. We're about to finish. So let's do the delete to-do, right? Deleting a to-do is basically the opposite of adding a new one. So you should use 90% of the code from the post to-dos feature. Well, let's follow that. So let's grab all of this and let's put it right here, right? Now, what is the method that we use to delete, guys? You guys remember? Delete. That's it. Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy, even if you get it wrong. So delete. Delete is the method that we use to delete something from our database, right? So here, the main difference is that delete to dos, and then we have a very nice thing here. We'll receive the position to delete the URL of the request like this. All right, so what is this fancy stuff? What is this cool stuff that we got here? Position int. All right. Now, okay. Now this, when we are asking our API to delete a to-do, we have to specify the position of the to-do that we want to delete. All right. So we do that by adding the position just after the to-dos in the request. I know that sounds difficult, weird, but you will see that it's actually super easy. And then we will see what is this int about. But let's focus first on the instructions. So when you use the less than and greater than symbol, Flask will return whatever the client specified. All right. So look at this. When I do to-dos 1 and to-dos 3, 2, 3, that means that these are the positions. No, it's not initial. Now, int in programming is short for integer, right? An integer is just a number. That's it. So what they're asking us here, what we're doing here is that after to-dos, we have to specify the position with a number. We can't do something like this. Let me show you here. We can't, hold on. Okay. We can't do something like this. If I, hold on, let me grab this. Okay. So if I do delete 2, this means delete the second to do, right? If I do 1, that means delete the first to do, right? But if I do this, what do you think, guys? Will it work? Nope. Why no? String, correct. Because first, it's not a number, right? If I do this, it will go through. But if I do this, it won't work, right? Because it's a word. Yes, it is zero-based. So I will tell you something. Probably in the real world, we want to use an ID approach, but for keeping things simple, let's just do the positions. All right. So let's go back here, and we're specifying that the position must be an integer, must be a number, not a word, right? All right. So add this endpoint to your app.py file. All right. So let's do that. Let's grab all of this. Let's paste it. And it says, this is the position to delete. Now, here comes an interesting part. Now, get, very simple, right? There's nothing much to talk about this one. Post, we use request, right? Because we have to catch whatever the front end is sending to us. And now in delete, we got this. Now this is called a parameter, all right? Why? Because the endpoint has a parameter, in this case, a position parameter, all right? Here we can access to it. The function called delete to do will receive the parameter. Basically, we'll handle it. So when we print it, this is the position to delete, boom, then we will see it logged in the API. So it crashed. Let me run it again. Let me go to the request. So this is our delete. And if I do 2, let me click here, it will say, this is the position to delete 2. If I do 5, this is the position to delete 5, right? So whatever I'm sending here is getting cut here and then print in this line. Is this clear, guys? Perfect. Okay, let's click here. Everything is in place. And let's move on to the next step, testing your endpoint. All right. So it is asking us for, oh wait, hold on. Is this done? Yes. It's just asking us to test it, but we got it, so no problem. The last step is to finish it. It says here, because right now we're just logging a position, right? That's not fun. We're not doing anything with the database, so that doesn't make sense. But this, it says, receive the position that the client wants to delete as the first parameter of the delete to do endpoint function. This is what we got here. Remove the task from the list of to-dos. You can use any Python method that allows removing items from a list by position. So we will do a simple one called pop. So if I do to-dos.pop and then I send out the position, basically what this means is that based on the position, the to-dos will be removed. So if I say, hey, please pop, that means remove the to-do at position 1, then it will get removed. That's it. And then it says return the JSONify updated list of to-dos. So I will just grab this, I will paste it here, and I will respond it. So for the post, we got the request, we append it, we annex it, we add it to the to-dos, then we make it a JSON and we return, we respond. That's fine. For delete, first, we delete from the to-dos list the to-do based on the position. If it's the first one, then it will delete the first one. If it's the second one, sorry, if it's 2, then it will delete the second one, right? Now, JSON to-do list, we're gonna get it JSONified, and then we're gonna respond with the new list. So let's go back here. Let's move this here. So we got our get. Oh, I hate when it crashes. Okay, it's done. So when I click here, because I run the server again, sorry, because I run the API again, then we don't have anything stored, but we got the 3 initial tasks, right? So let's test post. When I click here, post, then you will see that I have the first 3 to-dos and then the last one, the one that I just added, right? But what happens if I want to delete the first one, right? If I do 0 here with delete, so we got this ones, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 to-dos inside. And then we do 0. That means that I want to delete the first to-do. I click here. Look, it's not there anymore. Magic. Nah, not magic. Coding. So there you go. If I want to delete this one, what number should I type here? What's the position of this one? 1. Sweet. Let's do it. Boom. It is gone. Right? If I want to delete this one, what's the number for it? 1. Guys, wow. Boom. Gone. And if I go to the get and I do it, boom, it's just 1. If I create 1, boom, now it's 2. Now if I delete 1, boom, I still get 1. Magic, right? Pure magic. All right. So let's kind of, can I add another line that will convert string to integer? Can I add another line that will convert string to integer? Then first, or just complicating things. Yeah, I don't think it's necessary, really. I don't think it's necessary. But of course you can do it. Of course, you can add another one. Okay. So let's test it. Boom, it's now passing. And of course, let's go back here to our boat example, right? Oh. So very simple. We already know how this works. The city tells the boat, hey, go to the warehouse, right? Go to the backend and go to the delete port, right? Now, because I got 1 here, now this is a request for the API, for the worker. The captain says, hey, I got a request from the city. They're asking us to delete the to-do this one, right? So the worker will go and I will grab this one, I will delete it, That's it. And then the vote, okay, so the worker will go back and say, okay, it's deleted. You can have a copy of the actual storage that we have in the warehouse. The vote says, okie dokie, thank you. And I go back to the city and says, all right, it is deleted. This is the actual shape of whatever is on the warehouse. Is this example clear, guys? Yes? Nice. Okay. So, where were we? Okay, perfect. So that's done. And as you can see, we got no more next button. So that means that the project has been done. Easy, no? Ah, perfect. Yeah, I want to see your emojis, guys. Let's go. You just follow up. You just you just had the patience of listening to me for more than more than 1 hour straight. Big props to you guys. All right. So that's that for the project, guys. And let's do some recap so we can talk about how you guys felt around this workshop. So the recap and final words. Python is a solid and popular programming language with a wide range of job opportunities. It's very popular, people love it, and if you want to focus your career on Python, it's a very, very good decision. You won't regret it, trust me. I've been doing this for years, and Python developers are one of the most solid developers in the industry. So that's cool. Sometimes less is better. Lightweight libraries as Flask or plugins as Thunder can help us to set up a simple API in a matter of minutes. And this is so true. Of course, for some of you, probably you'll say, "Oh no, I still don't get it." That's fine. But when you get a job in tech, sometimes stakeholders or your manager or whoever needs your help will tell you, "Hey, I want to test this out. I have an idea." And you can lose time on that. And you want to search for the quick tools that can help you to make that idea a reality, right? That could be Flask and Thunder. Who knows? Now, next, an API is like a waiter. Its work is to deliver. Remember our worker guy? I mean, the port is cool, the warehouse is cool, but if we don't have this guy right here to actually do the hard work, nothing will happen, right? So an API is like a waiter. Its works to deliver a request from a customer to the chef and then send back the final plate to the customer. That's it. An API is usually the first thing a product builds. Now, this is something that you will get to understand in the future. An API is where all the business rules lay. Why? Because the API deals with the database, and the database is all about storing the data of a business, right? So the API basically has all the logic regarding what to do with that data, all right? So that's why when a product is starting, they usually start building the API. If you are at 4Geeks or you plan to join 4Geeks and you are in the step of delivering something with APIs, always focus your efforts on delivering the API first. I know that a lot of people don't like it, but it's the way you do it. It's the professional way. Last but not least, communication between front and back end must be always done in JSON. It's their universal language. As you can see, JSONify, JSONify, JSONify. There is no endpoint where you don't do this, right? Very important. And to close this amazing workshop and to hear a little bit about you guys, feedback, questions, complaints, I just want to say coding is not an easy task, right? But it sure can be learned and mastered. That's the important part. Practice makes perfect. If you want, join us at 4Geeks. That's it, guys. Woo!
Amazing, Camilo. Thank you.
Perfect. You guys have any questions? You want to say something about the workshop?
What do you think about this presentation? G.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for those great messages, guys. I'm super glad to have you here. I gave one workshop a couple months ago. We only were like 7 people. Now we're doubling or even more the attendance. So, guys, spread the word. I will be doing workshops probably once a month. If it's React or Python, I'll be there, guys. If you're interested in learning more, attend the workshops. I'll be there. If you like my explanations, then you have me there to explain you more coding stuff. So thanks for being here, guys. Remember, we can connect on LinkedIn, and if you want to learn how to code, 4Geeks can be your option. That's it, guys.